Hi there, today I want to talk to you about some of the prefixes that we use in Esperanto. These 5 prefixes are what I like to call the grand prefixes, so using sort of a racing theme. Dis is to scatter something, ek is suddenly or initially, mis is improperly or incorrectly, re is again, and mal is opposite. Let's take a closer look at each one. First we have dis. Dis means to scatter something. If I simply wanted to throw something, I would say jeti is to throw. But if I threw something in multiple directions, then I would say dis jeti, to scatter, throw. If I planted a single seed, that would be to seminate, that would be to sow one seed. But to throw a lot of seeds out, that would be to dissemi, to scatter the seeds out in multiple directions. If someone was trying to rob me and I pushed them away and I drove them off, then I could say I forpellis, I pushed them away. But if a whole bunch of people were trying to rob me, I could push them all away together, or I could send them going in different directions. That would be dispelli, to scatter, drive off. Okay? So you don't want to confuse this with for. For means away. It's often used as a prefix, but it also works as a standalone preposition very often, so that's why we don't include it as an official prefix here, but it's very important to know and to get used to seeing in front of other words. Disigi would be to scatter or separate something, whereas forigi is to make it go away. For example, if I was teaching a class and I took some student's cell phone away and gave it back to him later, I did not disigi it, I didn't scatter it, I simply took it away. Whereas if I had a whole pile of cell phones and I threw them in different directions or I set them in different places, then I separated them. I disigis the cell phones. Does that make sense? Great. So for is away, dis is to scatter. And it's kind of similar to the prefix ge that we talked about in an earlier video. Ge means that it includes both sexes. So it's very difficult to use a singular form of ge, because either you're a guy or a girl or whatever else at one time. I can't simultaneously be a guy and a girl, right? I can only be one, so I can't be a ge anything very easily. There are some exceptions we can use for that, but by and large, you have to have a group of someone that includes guys and girls to say ge blank. Similarly, here, you don't scatter one thing, because wherever you send that one thing, it's still there. You haven't scattered it, right? So you need multiple objects in order to scatter them in any way, by and large, okay? Post concurso homamaso disigas. After a competition, a crowd separates, goes its separate ways, disintegrates. Not disintegrate like set phasers are vaporized, but disintegrates as in is no longer integrated into one group, okay? And look at the arrows up there. They're going this way and this way and this way, okay? They're going in all these different directions, all right? So that is dis. Next we have ek. Ek means to suddenly or to start to blank. Okay? So if bruligi is to burn something, then ek bruligi is to initially burn it, or to start burning, or to ignite it. Pluvi is to rain. But right at the beginning of that rain, right when it starts to break, you'd say it started raining. It ek pluvis. Krii is to call out, or to cry. Ek krii is to exclaim, to suddenly call out, or to begin to call out. Don't confuse ek with ex, which means former, or echo, which means echo. Okay? Exalti, for example. It means to start to salty, to start to jump. It doesn't mean ex alti, or formerly high. Okay, that would be a very different word we'd use. La autoi ekiris circau lavoio. The cars started to go around the path. All right? If you see at the top there underneath the flag, tri, du, unu, ek. Often you can use ek instead of commensu or tui commensu, immediately commence. You can just use ek to say go, which is handy because sometimes you just need a one-syllable word to get it started. Okay? Next we have mal, which means opposite. La malo is the opposite. Male is oppositely or on the contrary. Granda would be big. So mal granda is the opposite. It's small. Una, old. Mal una, una is young, mal una is old. Pli is more, mal pli is less, okay? La giĉeto malfermas jela oka. The ticket booth opens at 8 o'clock, okay? One thing that you need to pay attention to, especially for English learners, is that mal does not have a negative connotation. Okay, in English, a lot of times we think, ooh, maleficent or Darth Maul. We think of mal meaning bad. Look at this word, for example. Malodorous means bad smelling in English. Whereas in Esperanto, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't say malodora or malodori. That just means the opposite of smelling. So what does that mean? Tasting? Is it seeing? What? Touching? No, you have to specify that it's malbona or malbon blank. So bona is good, so malbona is bad. So malbonadora would be opposite of good smelling. Oh, that's bad smelling. So for the example up here, I say male is the opposite of female. It's not the evil version. It's not like males are evil and females are good, right? So at the bottom also you notice malfermi is to open, okay? Ferma is shut. Now, wouldn't you think that ferma would be the bad form of open? Open, everything's open and happy and good. Shut, oh no, that's bad. Yet ferm is the standard word and malferm is the opposite, which means to open, okay? So if that helps remind you, then use that mal does not in any way mean the bad or the worse form of something. Next we have re. Re means again, okay? Very similar to many of the times we use it in English. Legi is to read, relegi is to reread, vidi is to view, revidi is to review, trovi is to find, retrovi is to refind or to rediscover. Don't confuse this though with words that happen to begin with re but aren't specifically using re as a prefix there. For example, representi, we borrowed that from other Germanic or Latin. I don't know where we borrowed it from, but we borrowed it from places where they use it in a similar way that we do in English. So to represent is what representi means. It doesn't mean to present again. It instead means to present something in someone else's name or someone else's place. Okay, I represent the Lollipop Guild or whatever, right? That doesn't mean I'm presenting for the Lollipop Guild a second time. Again, respecti is not to watch again, specti de nove. It is to respect someone, right? R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Reciti is not to cite something a second time in a scholarly paper, let's say. It is to recite something. It's to read aloud something that's written down, okay? So often you'll need to use de nove to just make it simpler to understand. De nove means from new or anew, okay? That's another word for again. Instead of saying re, okay, you could say de nove. La tiu jara gaininto revenis alla concurso. The winner of that year returned to the competition, okay? And up at the top here, notice la hobito autien kai reen. Okay, the hobbit, or there and back again. So back again is expressed with reen. The n at the end means motion towards, okay? So there, tien, and back to where we started, the reen, okay? Finally, we have mis, okay? Mis means improperly, imprecisely, or incorrectly. Calculi is to calculate. It's also the name they were originally going to give Richard Deacon's character on the Dick Van Dyke Show, but instead it ended up being Mel Cooley, because Sheldon Leonard, the producer, thought, well, Cal Cooley, that sounds too much like Calvin Cooley, that sounds like the president. Some viewers might not like that, so let's change it. But Richard Deacon always said it should have just been Cal. That would have rolled off the tongue better. So, a little trivia for you. Miss Cal Cooley is not Cal Cooley's wife or daughter. It is to miscalculate. Audi is to hear. Misaudi is to mishear. Misuzi is to misuse. Let's clarify the differences between mis and some of these other prefixes. So, to misuse something is one thing, but to use something poorly is uzachi. To use something immorally or unethically would be fi uzi. To mess up while using something would be fush uzi. Here's an example to show the difference. If I was making spaghetti and I didn't have a spaghetti strainer at my disposal in the kitchen, I could borrow my brother's tennis racket and use that to strain the spaghetti, a la The Apartment 1960 with Jack Lemmon, right? If I did that, I could do it successfully and skillfully and everything could go well, but I would still be misusing it, at least according to my brother when he gets home and says, "What are you doing? You misused my stuff. That's not what it's intended for." Okay, but that would be a case where I wouldn't be accurate in saying I botched it up or I used it immorally. It was just or used it poorly. I simply use it for an improper way or for a different thing than what it's intended for, okay? Or that I had permission for, let's say. So mis can be on purpose and it can be effective, okay? The li mis accusis la gainanton pri trompo. He mistakenly accused the winner of cheating, okay? So there, he might have done that on purpose to distract from the fact that he was cheating. Maybe he purposely misaccused. It's not like he bungled or started to accuse him and then tongue-tied his own words or something. No, he just did it imprecisely. So look at the arrows there that are missing their target there. So it's imprecise, improper, or incorrect. Those are the rest of your prefixes in Esperanto. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.